Hey guys, welcome back. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the top 10 arena class cards, not excluding legendaries. I'll be talking about the overall impact of each card, and we'll be going over some tips and strategies and how they will impact the arena for their respective classes. Let's just jump right into it. So, the 10th card on the list, Reaper's Scythe. It's a 4 mana 4/2. Great weapon damage for the mana cost. Spell Burst also damages adjacent minions this turn. Now, this card is insanely good because not only does it have cleave possibly one time on one swing, but it has the perceived threat of always having cleave. So you will always have to basically play around this card until it's gone, or until they use the spell burst up, because at any moment, even if the opponent doesn't have a spell, you have to assume that they have a spell to totally destroy your board. So the cleave damage is very, very insanely strong. And even if the opponent doesn't have a spell to trigger the spell burst and the cleave damage, you're going to have to prepare for it. So this card will basically make you play in a very suboptimal way sometimes. So I think its impact is very, very strong. It's a very strong card for Warrior. Like I said, it's great damage for the mana. It's the same as True Silver Champion for Paladin, which is an insane card as well. And it's a weapon that Warrior doesn't have. They can't do 4 damage on turn 4, so it's a perfectly strong weapon for Warrior. The problem is that it's in Warrior. The class needs a little bit more help, I think, because after the Imprisoned Gangarg reduction in appearance, the classes definitely fell off the radar a little bit, and I don't see that picking up with the new expansion. But this weapon will be one of the main reasons why the class recovers, if it does recover. It's also a rare card, so it's never going to be seen super often, although I feel it's going to be picked very often, just because it's insanely strong. But it comes in here at number 10, so we'll go on to number 9. Combustion. 3 mana, mage spell, deal 4 damage to a minion. Any excess damage both neighbors. So the way this works is it's kind of like a mini meteor. So if your opponent has 3 minions on the board, and let's say they have 3 1/1s on the board. You play this on the middle 1/1. You're dealing 4 damage to it. Therefore, you have excess 3 damage. That 3 damage is then transferred to both sides of that middle minion. So the 2 minions on the side both receive 3 damage. So it's an interesting card, I think, because I don't really think people will fully get that as soon as you read it, because I don't think there's another card like this. So you have to kind of read it and kind of assess the board state. It's good against small boards, which is fine because Mage really needs to stabilize until they can get their late game. So I mean, this is an insane card for Mage in that respect. It's also a single target removal. It's 4 damage for one minion. Very reasonable, and we definitely have to think about positioning accordingly for this card. So you might want to put the big guy in the middle at times, right? So it's going to be definitely impactful. Again, the problem is the rarity of this card. It's an epic. We won't see it too often, although it will be picked very often. I would put it higher than Fireball, but probably lower than Rolling Fireball, because I think Rolling Fireball does a little bit more, even though it's more expensive. But this card is still insanely good for a class in a mana slot. That's very, very useful for them. So moving on, we're going to the eighth top card. Goody Two-Shields. 3 mana 4/2 Divine Shield. Spell Burst, gain Divine Shield. This is basically the best 3-drop you could... Basically the best 3-drop that maybe ever existed. It's so insane, the amount of stats and power this card has. It's a 4/2 Divine Shield, so instantly it's better than a card like Scarlet Crusader, which has been a staple 3-drop for a long time. It has been surpassed by Candle Taker, which is a 3-mana 3/2 it has a reborn effect. So this card is instantly better than those two by a significant margin. It's a 4/2, so it kills 3 4s and it leaves a 4/2 behind. And it has Spell Burst, which gives it the ability to regain its Divine Shield. So it's effectively a 4/2, a 4/2, and a 4/2 for 3 mana at times. It's just an insanely strong card. Not only does the Spell Burst refresh the shields, you could buff this with the spell, gain Divine Shield, enter a very favorable trade, and leave a body behind for only 3 mana. It's an insane card for Paladin. I mean, it's nothing flashy, but as a 3-drop, it's just so many stats. It's going to cause so many headaches, and it's going to blow out early games very quickly, especially if it gets a buff that increases the health as well. For the Spell Burst, it's just going to be an insane card. Seventh spot goes to Twilight Runner, Druid card, 5 mana 5/4 Beast, Stealth. Whenever this attacks, draw 2 cards. Okay, so this card is like, it's also insane. Like, you have a card that's Stealth, so it cannot be removed very easily with 4 health. It can't be removed by cards like Hellfire. It's just only really realistically like Flame Strike, Twin Tyrant. Those are 2 cards that can remove this card, but it's basically guarantees you a 2-card draw when it attacks. Not very often will you not attack with this card, or not be able to attack with this card. Maybe against a taunt you might not be able to. So this card potentially could even attack again if it somehow survives. But we're looking at a potential 3-to-1 card, maybe more. So if it trades into a 5/5, draws you 2 cards, it's already a 3-for-1 card. Insane card. I mean, it doesn't need the stealth, and it would probably still be good. It's similar to the old Ticketmaster card for 4 mana, but obviously that card never ended up being so insane, even though at times it could be insane. But this card is a much more guarantee that it will be insane due to the stealth. It just makes it that much better than the old Ticketmaster card, or Ticket Scalper card. Sorry, Ticket Scalper card. So I mean, this card is just absolutely bonkers. It's also a beast too, and there's actually relevant beast synergy or beast type combo cards in this meta too. So, and this is a very good beast. Moving on. So this is the top 6. There's 6 card in the top 10 arena class cards. Paladin card again. 5 mana spell, Blessing of Authority. Give a minion +8/+8. It can't attack heroes this turn. Absolutely insane. Remember the old, absolutely insane. Blessing of Kings costs 4 and it gives you +4/+4. This card costs 5 and it doubles that. The only negative is that you can't go face. Usually Paladin plays buffs to trade anyways. So if you're not prepared to deal with a +8/+8 on turn 5 against Paladin, this is going to be an absolute nightmare. It's a huge card, and it's just going to be impossible to defend against sometimes on turn 5 or 6. Even if they can't go face, you know you're going to lose a ton of stuff to the whatever minion this is attached to if you can't remove it with spells. Just an insane card. One of the best simple buffs that Paladin has gotten. I don't think it's as good as Steed was back in the day, but this is an insane card for 5 mana. But yeah, definitely be on the lookout for this. Good thing it's a rare, so hopefully we don't see it in every deck, but you never know. Alright, moving on. We are on the 5th card, halfway through the list. Coerce, it's a dual class card. 3 mana, it's a warrior and rogue card. 3 mana, destroy a damaged minion, so it's a 3 mana execute. Combo, destroy any minion. Absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. It's 3 mana assassinate. You can play a 2 mana card or whatever. Like 3 mana card it's very cheap. It's cheap enough that you can combo it out reasonably at very reasonable stages of the game, like turn 6, turn 7. Like that's just conservative speaking. Play a 3-drop, kill something, etc. So I mean, and you can also use it as just to kill a damaged minion, a more expensive execute if you just can't afford to wait anymore. It has flexibility. It's insanely good. It's probably better for warrior since warrior lacks ways to remove big things. But of course, rogue can definitely utilize a high tempo swing card like this as well. So just an insane removal card for both classes. It's an excellent card. Top 4. Argent Braggart, 3rd Paladin card on the list. You can see how Paladin has definitely hit the home run this expansion with super strong cards. 2 mana 1/1. It's an epic, thank goodness. Battlecry, gain attack and health to match the highest in the battlefield. So this is not just a copy minion card. It takes the highest of both on the battlefield from both sides of the board. So your side, their side, and it takes the highest of both. So if you have a 110 and if you have a 110 on the board and your opponent has a 10-1, it becomes a 10-10. So it's an absolutely monster tempo card for 2 mana. It's almost never going to be bad. Even if you copy a 4/4 for 2 mana, it's never going to be bad. The only time that this thing needs to be bad, that this card has a chance to be bad, is if you need it to interact with the board right away. Because at the end of the day, this card is just a pile of stats. So it can't interact with the board. It's not a heal, it's not a taunt, it doesn't have initiative, it doesn't deal damage right away, and it can only copy the stats right away. So effectively at times you're just copying 1 minion, and maybe your opponent owns that minion, and then your opponent can interact with their minion before you can. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're also paying only 2 mana for whatever big minion they have, right? So this is an insane tempo card. Good thing it's an epic, otherwise it's a huge headache for sure. Alright, so now we're entering the top 3. Demon Hunter card. Demon Hunter makes an appearance on the list here. Cycle of Hatred, it's a spell, 7 mana, deal 3 damage to all minions, summon a 3/3 spirit for every minion killed. So this includes your minions, their minions. So it's an overpriced AoE. For 3 damage to all minions, it's 1 less than Flame Strike. It's also double-sided, so it's not as good as Flame Strike. We've seen similar double-sided 3 damage AoEs for roughly 5 mana. For 2 extra mana, you get an extra 3/3s for every minion killed. Assuming that you only play this to kill minions, you will for sure get 3/3s back. So that means you'll kill a bunch of minions and you'll generate a board. Occasionally an overwhelming board. This card is so freaking insane that the moment you play this, you probably win the game unless your opponent has a really strong response to a bunch of 3/3s. Even if it kills your own guys, which is the thing you don't want to do sometimes, you still get a board back because you generate minions yourself. So it's the drawback for the card is not really a drawback. It's more of a safety net too. Like you have a safety net against killing your own board, because you just generate another board. It's just a insanely strong AoE card, and it's going to be very frustrating to lose this card because it's really strong. At this point, Demon Hunter looks like, unless Demon Hunter gets some kind of appearance reduction again, they're probably going to be very strong. You're going to have to play large minions into them and hope that those can finish off the Demon Hunter, because right now I don't think small minions are going to be able to get rid of Demon Hunters, and this card is really insane. So we're moving into the top 2. Brittle Bone Destroyer, dual class card for Priest and Warlock. It's a 4 mana 3/3. The battle cry: if your hero's health changed this turn, destroy a minion. The obvious way to make this card work is to use your hero power, so Priest can heal itself, or Warlock can tap for a card. Both ways changes the health total most of the time. Other ways is playing a spell to heal yourself, or playing a spell or minion ability that damages yourself. So there's a couple ways to make this card work. It's slightly better in Warlock because having your life go down is a it's relatively much easier as opposed to Priest having your health go up. Sometimes you're a Priest and you have 30 health, so you can't use the hero power to change your health, therefore this card doesn't work, which really sucks. And sometimes as Warlock you don't really want to tap because your life is too low, which means you can't use this card, which means it really sucks. So there's pros and cons to this card, but obviously the card is absolutely insane. It's an epic, it's a rare card, so we won't see it too often, but we will definitely see it very often. It's similar to Aeon Reaver. I think this card's a little bit better than Aeon Reaver, even though the body is worse and the condition is conditional. But the unconditional destroying of the minion makes this card very strong. We've seen other cards like this for 6 mana, where it leaves the body and it unconditionally kills the minion. Caladan the Breaker, legendary, Flick as a 4/4, unconditionally kills a minion. So these are very strong legendaries, and now you have it in a rare card form. There is that small drawback of having to change your health, but there are ways to work around it, and probably 9 out of 10 times it won't be a huge deterrent in any way. But this card should be an insane, frustrating card to deal against, especially if it shows up very often in drafts. So hopefully we won't see it too often, but it's a very powerful card. And we're going to the top arena class card for this upcoming set. Troublemaker. Dun, dun, dun. I don't think anyone's surprised. This card is absolutely bonkers. It's new levels of power. It's an 8 mana 6/8. It's for warrior. At the end of your turn, summon 2 3/3 ruffians that attack random enemies. So the ruffians will stay on the board and attack. If they attack into something and die, then they die. It's a reoccurring effect. So every turn, this guy generates 2 3/3s. To me, it's stronger than Tyrant. Because the drawback of Tyrant is that its stats are actually understated for its mana cost. So you have to hit the battle cry for it to be worthwhile. Whereas this card will always generate the value. This card, if you play on an empty board, you probably win because it's impossible to remove the main body and then 2 3/3s very easily. So and if you use this to clear stuff, although it's not as consistent as Tyrant because you don't know if the 3/3s are going to go face. Still, the 3/3s will leave a huge board presence, and the 6/8 immediately demands removal, otherwise you're going to lose the game. I think this card is better than Tyrant. This card is probably better than Coilfang Warlord from Demon Hunter, which was probably the previous best card I've ever seen, non-legendary in Arena. Coilfang Warlord, the problem with Coilfang Warlord is if you play it on an empty board is that it's a 9/5 with the Death Rattle, but you can ignore the 9/5 because if you don't trigger the Death Rattle, it doesn't really get the value. This card, you don't have to trigger anything, you just play it and it gets value right away. So it's a huge threat right away, and I think this card is going to be a huge trouble. But it's rare, it's for warrior. We might not see it as often. The class might be struggling too much for this card to even help it. I think the early game for warrior will need some help. I don't think it's going to be an insanely powerful class to start, but it'll depend on how Blizzard adjusts the appearance rates on some of the cards. Specifically, I think Gangarg. If Gangarg is still very highly, still have the high appearance, then maybe Warrior can pick it up with the new 4/2 Scythe weapon and Troublemaker. But I'm going to be a little conservative on it, but I think this card is just an absolutely insane monster card. It probably should be nerfed to a 6/6. Even then, it's still insanely good. It's 12/12 with their stats for 8. It immediately deals 6 damage. It's just really strong card. Anyway, so that wraps up the top 10 arena class cards that are non-legendary. So I hope you guys enjoyed the 2-part top 10s. And hopefully my predictions are not too inaccurate. So we'll see how these cards perform in the arena in the next couple days. So take care, guys. Good luck in the arena.